Hi, and welcome to another episode of Wine and Wisdom. I'm Thomas Le Hoang, and you're listening to the TL podcast, where knowledge is shared and no one takes themselves too seriously. Okay, what's the bottle?
This is a Côtes du Rhône. It's
Not Côtes, but Côte.
well, it's a Mexican-French Côtes du Rhône.
No, Côte.
Côte du Rhône from the Rhône region in France, which is southern France. For the layperson, it's a 2016 Shiraz.
Would it be the southern part near Italy or the southern part near Spain?
It's south.
So
right.
just the southern part, right?
It's the rockiest vineyards in the world almost. Lots of stones. It is in Appellation. It says it there. Okay, thanks. You're not making me feel good, Chris.
It's your job, not mine.
But you know what does make me feel good? This is winner's piss, boys. You only got awarded this bottle if you won the Trivia Championship of the World at Kickstart, which my table destroyed you. But you know what? I thought that's not fair. I'll share the winnings with everybody. So congratulations to Table 4. And
Can I ask you a question?
Yes,
and
mate.
you, obviously, I know you'll answer with honesty.
yes, mate.
Did you win by arse or by skill?
No, it was actual skill. There was a stacked field. We had myself, McSeveny, Dylan, Troy Howe, Canillis offered nothing. But Joel remembered every wine from the taste testing at Leadership. Rod pulled something out, and I can't remember what, and I somehow worked out that the hairiest member hired in the last year at Wisery was a dog. So we won on skill. There was absolutely no... I'm like, no one else is coming up with that stuff.
Oh, dear.
But Joel did well. For a bloke who came second in that competition, he goes, it was a this, a this, a this, a this, and a this. And I'm like, oh, we got this. No one even came close.
But he was up on having a drink off with Rob.
Yeah.
So you had Rod and Joel
I
at
had
the
them
table.
both. Yeah, so the wine question we might have had, we would have been
Yeah, they
favourites. But
covered.
boys done good. Champions, that's
Pour
all
the
I
drop.
can say.
Pour the bloody wine.
Let's drink some winner's piss.
All right, let's try this. So, this week, Senna, Ayrton Senna. What do you guys know?
Man, you know,
What do we know?
Just so everyone knows who doesn't know where we're recording this from, we're surrounded by, there's two,
a shrine.
four,
There's a
six,
shrine to
8,
Ayrton Senna
10,
just
12,
about.
14, 16. There's 17 framed photographs of Ayrton Senna
Did you get the one
surrounding
there?
us. I think
The
we're
one
at
over there,
7, 8.
1,
You're
2,
allowed it
3,
a few
4,
just
5,
in
6,
case.
7, 8, 9.
The boardroom has at least 6.
Come on.
So
Just pull yourself away.
what I know is we're going to hand the floor over to...
18, 19. Picture of Thomas that thinks he's Senna, 20.
Here's what I want to know from you, TL.
Yeah, that's a good question, isn't it? I just ask him a question. What do you know? So when you
No,
don't
what I
know,
know
you
is-
just throw back a question.
No,
Yeah? I get it.
What I know is this bloke is your absolute... I don't know what you want to call him. Is he your hero? Is he your idol? Is he what?
Cheers, boys,
and,
cheers.
and then...
So what's the difference between idol and hero?
Yeah, well, that's
that's a good
another
question.
good question.
But let's go to the
'cause
first question before we get to that
It
question.
was one of the pages in February of the last book said don't have them. Seneca was the one who said
Don't have heroes.
don't have heroes. He respects hard work and a couple of other things. So for a sports person to be the person on this planet that you've chosen to surround yourself with on a 24-hour basis almost, I'm extremely interested. And a race driver, because they're not normally the ones. When people go, who are your heroes or who do you aspire
You're right, yep.
to be, it's very rarely a race car driver.
No.
So I'm more interested in
Oh, God.
that, my brother.
Okay.
Cheers anyway, boys, sorry.
Cheers.
Cheers again.
Because look, let's be honest. I got some things I want to point out. Chris has probably got some things.
No.
But you are the
Senna aficionado.
you're the aficionado here,
No.
and we won't be doing him justice.
No,
so
no, I think that
tell us.
Senna is not my hero,
Okay.
and Senna is not my idol.
Okay, well,
Senna represents or epitomize some of the things that I would like to espouse, I would like to adopt in my life. That's all.
okay.
It's got to be more. I'm going to call. It's got to be more than that, brother, because you're surrounded with 17 photos on your
So
wall.
some of those, does he hold similar values, do you believe, maybe to what
Yeah,
you...
yeah. For example, one of the biggest thing that I embrace from him is his ability when he is working to fully immerse himself into his work. That whenever he is driving a car or he's analyzing something in the garage. That picture, by the way, guys, nobody else got it in the world. And that's all he does. He does that 100%. Not even one thought has gone to where am I going to take my spouse to tonight, you know? But then the other bit that he has too is it's one thing to fight like a gladiator when you're on a racetrack. Make sure you know how to live.
Yeah.
And hence this one there always reminds me, make sure you know how to live. That life, I've said it so many times, we only work part-time, but living, we live full-time. So we need to understand that life is about full-time living, part-time work. And the third thing that I really embrace from him is if you have these two in some kind of balance, make sure you start giving. That you go out there, you help others. That, you know, the pursuit of more and more and more, that does not make your life better, but the pursuit of making better people around you, that will just give you so much satisfaction. And I think that these are the three things I love about what he does.
Yeah, okay.
So for the uninitiated, who's Ayrton Senna?
Oh, that's a question I'm going to ask you.
He's
Because
a Formula One driver. Was a Formula One driver.
So I don't know if a lot of his, since Lewis Hamilton come in, I don't know if a lot of his records still stack up. Most pole positions, 65 pole positions during his career, and I don't think anyone would have beat him because his career was cut short, as we all know.
Yeah,
so I don't think anyone could have beat him in his career span in
10 years.
In that 10
So he
years.
won 3 world championships, which has been smashed now because of the way the cars go, but
Totally different.
considered one of the best drivers of all time. Died in a crash in 1994.
So an absolute genius when it comes to wet weather. No one could hold a candle to him when it comes to wet weather. That's funny. That's a bit of a conundrum. But no one believed how he would handle a car in wet weather. He would actually go harder and faster than anyone else could ever believe would be possible when it rained. He loved it. And no one could understand how he did that.
I just find, I'm too young, guys. I was 12 when he died. So the most I ever knew of him, if I did know anything, was race car driver. But trying to do a bit of research on his life, and again, I go back to what I said at the start, it's very rare for someone to pull out a race car driver to surround themselves with 24/7. He's one of the rare, people go, oh, sports people are role models and our kids are looking up to him. But it seems like he spent his time while he was competing and his whole life while alive trying to inspire people. And, you know, he was criticised for bringing a lot of his religious beliefs into a lot of what he was trying to teach people, but he actually wasn't trying to inspire people just by, I'm Lewis Hamilton and I'm great. He was actually trying to teach people about life while he was still alive. Am I close? I wasn't.
No, I think that his religion is personal. That was for him. I don't think that I've ever witnessed him trying to push religion down anybody else's road. That was for him. That I think that his religion was a personal. God and him, it was about a personal relationship.
I don't think he was guarded in his talk, and that's where it might come off. When someone asked him, he would say, I thanked God for it. And he's finish a race and win. And
it was something I picked up.
But he went further than that. He went further than that. He would say things like, God showed me the way. Or, you know, so he was speaking about the personal relationship he had. And I think that this is where people need to stop. We need to stop criticizing people because the way they look at the world is not the same as ours. You know, maybe I don't have the same kind of belief as Ayrton, but that does not mean that I don't respect the way he sees the world. We need to have that respect.
So is he a guy that was trying to inspire other people using his racing and other things while he was still alive, or is he someone who, like happens with a lot of people, after they're gone, we decide that they're an inspirational figure? This is what I mean by I wasn't old enough to understand. Was he looked upon as some sort of Gandhi or inspirational figure
Brazil,
while he was alive? Or
in Brazil, he was a national hero. They loved him. At the time he was winning, Brazil was in turmoil. Not that it's like out of any wonderful place at the moment, beautiful place to visit, but politically and there's a lot of poverty. It was in the depths of corruption and poverty while he was winning. And he was like their guiding light during that time. And even to today, they go through Brazil and they ask people in Brazil, who represents the people of Brazil, or if they mention his name, everyone loves him. Yeah. He's looked as like an absolute idol.
Yeah, a lot of people are. I mean, the good example of today's life is Kobe Bryant. Everyone's now decided that Kobe Bryant is this huge inspirational figure. While he was alive, though, it was almost the complete opposite.
No,
While he was alive.
While he was alive.
they
So
all
that's
loved
what
him.
I'm saying.
Yeah, no. While he was alive, Ayrton was already pretty high.
His funeral, there was more than 2 or 3 million people lining the streets on his motorcade. It was bigger than a presidential funeral. This thing was crazy.
They declared 3 days of mourning, national day.
Yeah,
And
that's how you know. Huh?
He was like the superstar of Brazil, that he was giving back to the poor of Brazil while he was alive, and continues to do today, but while he was alive. Hundreds and thousands of dollars and feeding millions of kids.
Yeah, back in the days when he was doing it, he was actually trying to help Brazil stand back up from all the problems they were going through. And so his organization actually, up until probably still today, every year still sponsors over 50,000 kids of the favelas. They go there, they look for kids that are probably in need of help and tell them, you go to school, we will just put you into a sports team. And that is crazy after so many years after his death. I look at this way. I have maybe a way of seeing what he does. And I know a fair amount because I've read everything I could read about it. But when you ask Michael Schumacher a few years ago, who was his hero, who was number one, Michael Schumacher said, Ayrton Senna, for me, is number one. When you see Lewis Hamilton driving Senna's car and then afterwards is in tears, right? So this, to me, when you look at the guys that are at the top of their game in their own field, putting him at the top, I don't understand that. And then this is why I say I cannot say anything about that. But looking at the way he lives his life, I wish we have that. I mean, not many people know, for example, that Ayrton was sent to Europe to try in Formula 3, I think. And he was a bit unhappy. He was unhappy because he was away from home. But then as he started to get good, his father's business was struggling. And they needed Ayrton to come back and help. So this guy walks away from his love, his passion, to just go and help his dad. I mean, how many children would do that? I asked the question. How many children today would say, I will walk away from my passion because dad needs me? And I think that tells me about the person. This is what I look at. And I think that the rest is that when his dad found out he was unhappy away from his passion, and after his help, he sent him back. He said, mate, you better go and fulfill your dreams. And to me, that is, if that doesn't tell you much about a person, it's just crazy. Another thing, there was one race where a French driver lost control of his Formula One.
Yep.
It broke into half. It's burst into fire. And it stopped in the middle of a track on fire. The driver doesn't get out. Ayrton just happened to drive past and he could hear that the throttle was at maximum. He's thinking, this thing is going to explode. He parked his car, ran, and just made sure that he switched the engine off. But that could have exploded.
Yep.
You tell me how many people would do that. These are the qualities I like. So I don't have heroes. I just have pieces and glimpses of a person doing things consistently right. And I would like to emulate some of those actions, not become them because I'll never drive like them, not become them because I'll never be obsessed like them. But in doing my little daily chores, do it to the best of my ability.
So good person first, race car driver,
Absolutely.
distant second. That's
He
interesting
was the
thing
best
about it.
racing car driver.
He's the
too,
best.
right?
He was the best.
That driver that he turned the car off for actually has said that he would not be alive today if it wasn't for Ayrton Senna. The other thing, coming back to about asking about Hamilton and Michael Schumacher, there was a couple of the documentaries I saw, and they had Alain Prost in there, and he was a big rival,
Arch enemy.
super arch enemy
On the racetrack.
on the racetrack. Even, but when they were on the same team, they would have the meetings on what to do with the cars, and no one wanted to leave the meeting first because it was a sign of weakness. So these meetings might go for 3 or 4 hours. But he spoke about Ayrton Senna as such a reverence, which you would not see from someone who was such an arch enemy on the racetrack. And he said this guy, while he was a fierce competitor, the person he was someone absolutely outstanding. And even till today, drivers still speak the same about him.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
The question without notice, is there anyone in sport who rivals him for transcending the sport and actually making a difference in it? Or is it, celebrity? I'll say celebrity, because you get, look, every movie star, every time there's a cause to save the whales or pull a plastic bag out of the ocean or save a cucumber, there's a movie star who gets on Twitter and says, I'm trying to change the world. But no, this bloke, from what I've read, he was trying to change at least his world and seems to have affected. He's transcended. Formula One's it's popular across Europe and popular across a lot of countries, but it's by no means the most popular sport in the world. So for someone who drove a race car to have this effect, I find it, and I don't know, has anyone come close? I mean, because Schumacher, we talk about Schumacher, he's sort of known for the opposite, not being a bad human, but being an arsehole. Yeah, everyone who talks about Schumacher, the competitor, doesn't talk in glowing terms at all. Is there
another comparable?
I think
today?
it's a bloody good question.
Yeah,
and my answer is I don't think so. And to answer the question even further, there will be one, because the Ayrton Senna...
Can you see one right now? I can't see one.
No,
Look, there's been people with moments of glory, and
No, not about the glory, just the whole
but
thing.
moments where they've pushed through different things and so forth. But to have that complete package that Senna seemed to have, which from the research I've done, because until today, until we said that we're going to speak about Senna, I hadn't looked into his life. I hadn't even watched the movie Senna.
Well, there's two movies about him. That struck me.
Well,
I'm
so
like, how many people have got two movies
there you
made
go.
about him? And that are race car drivers. That's the thing. Like, it's not.
There you go.
I mean, Tiger's got a movie about him, but golf is a worldwide thing. And mate, it must have been something special.
Put it out to our anyone listening, if they can think of someone that may be, close at all. Let us know. We might do a bit of research on them. And see
Because
how
there's
we
footy
go.
players you like, and there's but I just
There's always
it just
people that
doesn't
give
seem-
back. I mean, Sir
There
Bob
is,
Geldof did a heap for Greenpeace and so forth.
Africa.
And Africa and but did he do as much and was he as good at what he did and so forth? So I think it needs to be
for everyone to be as revered. Revered is a word that you said.
and the revere absolutely, yeah. And in Brazil, he absolutely was still till today.
He clearly had something special, even to the negative. I mean, he basically professed his own death because he was that concerned about the safety in Formula One. And the day he died, he was set to start the chair for the new safety campaign.
That day he died, if I can say from what I watched on that documentary, things were pointing to tell him not to race.
Yeah.
It seemed that universe was telling him not to race. Even his best mate, which was Sid, which was the F1 doctor.
The professor said,
right?
yeah.
He said to him, Ayrton, you
Sid
don't
Watkins,
need to race.
Sid Watkins.
That's it. He goes, mate, you don't need to race. How about we just go, catch a plane, we'll go fishing.
Yeah.
And he goes, man, I've got a job to do.
No, he actually said to him, if I'm going to walk away, would you walk away too?
There you go.
And Dr. didn't say, well, I can't, well, he says I can't either. I'm a professional. I have to do this. I've got a job to do.
So Frank Williams, who was driving for at the time, actually said that night before, he questioned whether Senna would race that day. I think they had a dinner or something on that night. He said to a few people, I'm questioning if actually Senna's going to race the next day.
Was it, and I didn't see this in my research, but something's come back to me. Was it the day before someone died in an F2 game?
Yeah, Ratzenberger.
So it was a real bad weekend, and that's why all the stuff.
Ratzenberger died on a Saturday. Rubens Barrichello broke his wrist.
Had a real bad crash, nearly died, and that was why all the premonitions
And Rubens
started.
Barrichello is Brazilian.
Yep.
And what's amazing is that a few weeks before that, he was there on the racetrack because he was summoned by, I think, the FIA to just analyze that turn. And he said, we're going to have to move the concrete wall because someone's going to die here. So they walked up to the concrete wall, they had a look, and behind it there was a creek, and they said, oh, well, I get it. You can't move the wall because there's a creek in the back. That's the wall that killed him. And these are spooky stuff, mate, And another thing that you would want to know, so in that April 1994, Ayrton Senna stops on pole position waiting for the start of the race. And for the first time in his life, something he's never done before, he took off his helmet and his gloves. put his helmet and his glove on his car and was just closing his eyes and thinking. And he's never done it. Every single time he was at pole position, he would always keep his helmet and his gloves on, just waiting. So at that point in time, he did something totally different. It's weird stuff. He's had so many signs.
Out there. Yeah.
But I don't know, and this is something that may be insulting to some people, and I hope it's not going to insult them. At least it's not my purpose. I just don't know whether sometimes you stop listening to the signs and
Intuition.
and get involved so much into being a professional, be into the I have to do my duty, that even for men who believe so much in God, he did not see that maybe God sent him some signals.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. And that's the way I was looking at it.
I think people, and it's a really interesting topic, and maybe one we could go on for hours, because there's gut feel, like we call it gut feel or the intuition or whatever. I think people underestimate how fucking complex we are as human beings.
Yeah.
We are such a special mechanism that, of course, we're going to be picking up signals, and of course, the law of attraction and all that stuff. Generally when you think something's wrong, there's something wrong, and that's because we're picking up energies. And I think you're 100% right, Seal. Too many people are quick to discount it, whether it's years of conditioning or they talk about, and this will go a bit woo-woo, but I don't know whether you believe in ghosts or not, but they talk about kids can see ghosts, adults can't. Kids can see them because they haven't been conditioned out of
So not to.
that's wrong, and that's not meant to be there, and we might see them every day and have no idea. Well, we're just conditioned to say no. So,
Look,
100% right. People will ignore.
I got the same thing from that documentary I've seen, that on that day there were so many signs that he received, and he still raced.
In the last 24 hours, he received so many. Like even someone said to him, "You don't have to go. You don't have to do it." But
then what would have happened in real terms if he had not raced? We all
He
going,
wasn't
thank
on
God.
the leaderboard. He wasn't there to, like, that was the year they had the automatic.
no, that was the year when the automatic suspension was banned.
Oh, it's the year after, right? So
I mean, you just know what human beings are like. So if he doesn't race that, all of a sudden we're talking a completely, one, he'd probably still be alive, but two, pussy didn't race.
You're right.
As if you would know, because that's what a shit.
So what are you
know?
saying is that sometimes we shut down our ego and even our belief that God is sending us messages.
For the sake of our ego, 100%. 100%. And
So,
it's
so,
crazy,
how many times do we do that? Because I can tell you, boys, that happened to me some 20 odd years ago. I was selling a house on the Gold Coast. I finished selling, and then I took the client out to the casino, and we celebrated. And at around 4 o'clock, I decided to drive him home to the airport to send him home to Sydney. And so I'm going from the casino to Brisbane because that's where his plane was. And twice I had a sign, "Thomas, you're tired. Pull over. Just get a bit of oxygen into your brain." And I decided, no, I have to get there. This guy, I drop him off and then I'll sleep, And the third time I was awoken by the client. And he screamed his head off. My car was spinning on the freeway at 100 k's an hour. And then it hit the ravine on the creek on the left-hand side. And it just went for over 500 meters with parts of cars everywhere. And I thought to myself afterwards, "Mate, you were warned." And you said no. Then you were warned a second time.
there you go.
And for English-speaking people, he meant ravine. I don't know what a ravine is, but he meant ravine.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I lost that other
Look, coming back to Senna.
Do you know this is a funny thing, is that you English people take
you English people,
take
you fucking racist.
The leader of the One Nation Party is fucking into us.
you take French words
Oh, here we go.
and then you just change the way we pronounce it.
Listen,
Ravine.
It's like you take the word.
words
It's like
and
you
made
take
them
the word
French.
lingerie in French. We say lingerie, and then you call it lingerie.
I thought you were going to call that
I mean,
lingerie.
Lingerie.
Come on, seriously,
Coats,
don't do that.
I want to ask you a question because I think you're going to talk about more good stuff. I want to ask an honest question to TL because I'm going to be honest. I tried to find some bad stuff.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Well, I tried. I didn't have a lot of success.
No.
I don't know a sports person on the planet who hasn't courted their fair share of controversy to go along with being a great bloke. Was there any... We're talking about how much we can learn from this somewhat demigod.
Yeah.
Was there any bad stuff? Because when no one's perfect, yeah?
No one. I think no one's perfect. The controversy is that I think that Ayrton was probably misunderstood. The best year of Ayrton was against Alain Prost. And Alain Prost is French. And back in those days, in Formula One, if you ever go to Paris, that's where you will see the headquarters of Formula One.
And Ravans everywhere.
And Ravin everywhere, yeah. And then, and then, you just shut up, man.
It took me a while to click on what the Ravan was.
Sorry.
And he can't even
At the
say.
time, their head was...
Jean-Marie Balestre. Jean-Marie Balestre also was a French president.
It was so biased.
So, man, there were so many things against this guy. I mean, this guy turns up for his first race in Monaco. First time ever, right? He was called in, and he arrives at Monaco, and they interviewed him. They said, how well do you think you're going to go, blah, 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 on the weekend? He goes, I don't know. This is my first time here. I just arrived. I need to see what the tracks look like because I don't know. And he almost beat Alain Prost. The only reason he didn't beat Alain Prost in that heavy rain where he overtook everyone, even Lauda was having accidents and people were spinning left, right, and center, is that Alain Prost could see he was catching up. And he said to them, stop the race. We can't drive anymore. Stop the race. And this Senna was just flying. He was catching him seconds after seconds. So I think that sometimes you can be so great. And the greater you are sometimes, the more enemies you attract. Especially when everything seems to be French.
So you're saying the worst thing about him was he was too good?
I think no.
I found something about him dating a 15-year-old when he was 25. But then I read further that in Brazil that's the culture, so that's
no.
That
I don't know. So you might be right.
Yeah, I'm just saying there is no.
But then also you might be wrong. So you need to check your source first.
No, I said
okay.
it might have
Wasn't
been.
there
I'm asking you because you
Wasn't
studied
there a
every
case-
inch of his life.
Wasn't there a case where he won pole position on a certain race, and the second was Alain Prost? Pole position would have had the driving line into the corner, but at the last moment, they changed the rules and changed the pole position from left to right-hand side.
Yeah.
And that decision came from the French guy,
Balestre.
who was the president of Formula One.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things changed to suit Alain Prost during that time. So he would have had a very good reason to lose his shit.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He still kept his cool majority of the time.
No, he wasn't happy, mate.
No, he wasn't happy. And
And he said to them, listen, that is garbage. And that's why at the start he took Alain Prost out. He didn't even brake, right? So I'm not saying that he's got stuff that are bad or anything at all. But I think that if we had to go through the kind of humiliation, you have to think about this. In the 1980s, a Brazilian leading the world championship, a Brazilian doing better than a German, a French, or an Italian. Are you serious? So... yes, there's a lot of things. Just go further to what you're saying.
It's more important. I'm not doing it at being us. I think it's important to know that.
No, it's important. No, it's
no
important.
one's perfect. You can still do
say.
great things. And the fact that you might have fucked up 10 years ago doesn't mean you can't do great things for the next 10 years. That's all I'm saying.
No. I don't think that he's done many of those things that people say. Mainly because I think his upbringing was so based on principles that I believe that they are fake news.
Yeah,
right?
it might
but
be,
have a look. I've been watching a series on, a documentary on Maradona. Maradona went to,
Real Madrid.
No. Mate never played for them. He went to Italy, south of Italy. Anyway, we'll find the team. All right? He plays for them. He wins championship for them. He does amazing thing for them. Then he gets involved into cocaine and drugs and all these things because that's what they do to own your ass, right? They get you to get sniff a bit of those things, and then suddenly afterwards they own you. And when Maradona and the Argentinian beat Italy in a World Cup championship on Italy soil, everything turned against Maradona. Suddenly, in the next few days, they came up with his drug habits. They came up with all the stuff, the women, the prostitute, all of these things. Seriously? Come on, mate. we only read some of the stuff about people afterwards because it didn't fit them
Didn't
before
fit the
that.
narrative, yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yep.
I think it was Naples. That's
Yeah,
it.
it
That,
was
that
that.
was he played for Naples, and this is the same thing. Listen, I've read quite a fair amount about Senna. I've never read that stuff about Senna.
No, that's what I'm
That
asking.
thing,
you.
I've never
That's-
read it.
That's
No.
why I wasn't throwing accusations. I was asking you.
A few of the things I took away from what I saw was one
I'll
of the
send you
things
the
he
link.
said, always be learning. Even when you're at the top, you have to look forward. Don't rest on your laurels. You need to look forward, because if you don't look forward, someone behind you is. Okay, so always look to be better. Oh, I thought that was amazing. You can train your muscles and your reflexes, but it all comes down to what you do with your mind. And that was an interview with he did. He goes, I can train my body and my reflexes going around a corner at 200 kilometers an hour, but it comes down to what I believe, not
Yeah.
what my body can do.
Yeah, there are many lines that I don't agree with either. Like he came up with that line. You either be first or the first of the losers. I disagree with that. I think that the way that he said it was wrong.
Ricky Bobby said the same thing.
I also
Talladega.
I've heard him say it too, I think.
If you're not first, you're last.
So some of the lines I disagree with. This is why I say he's not a hero of mine. He's not the guy that will sets the bar upon which I have to aim to reach. He simply is a very normal guy who stuffs up, who actually shows me how to just lead a good life, help others, but master whatever position you do in your job.
All I know, Chriso, is there's 17 photos of him and not one of us in here, mate. So that's all.
Could you fit in a racing car?
Mate, yes, I've been in. Hey, the co-driver couldn't. the poor bloke.
The co-driver had collapsed lungs. Well, boys.
Good chat.
This is
Thanks,
fantastic. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Awesome.